Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Well, Piston fans, just a little over 3 weeks before training camp opens, and that's where the fireworks are really going to start. I mean, it's just going to be fascinating what happens with the new coaching staff. You know, I'm so excited about Monty and his entire staff, not just him, but I think that it's going to make a huge difference going forward. But I think that there's just all those battles that are going to be happening with, for positions and playing time and starting and not starting. I think it's just going to be intriguing. I think there's going to be some surprises that we don't expect. But today, we are going to talk about why the Pistons should trade Bojan Bogdanovic. And it pains me to even say that because if you've listened to this podcast, you know how much I love him and love watching him play. He knows how to play, real smart. But here I'm going to go through some of those reasons. We're also going to talk a little bit about briefly about the Rico Hines run, a little bit about the Detroit Lions. Shout out the Detroit Lions beating the Chiefs last night. We'll talk just a little bit about Christian Woods. And anyway, let's get started with why we need to trade Bojan. And I know it's unpopular with most people because they want to win so bad. But I'm going to go have another podcast where I'm going to go through all the teams that are stuck. They're stuck and they can't make moves. And they hold on to players too long. But anyway, the number one reason by far, and I wouldn't even be so nervous about doing this except I don't know where Asar is going to get lots of minutes unless we make this deal. So they play the same position. If we're going to play like everybody thinks we're going to play beef stew, I just really think that Asar needs to play this year a lot and over 25 minutes. And of course, when I say 25 minutes, that means if he's playing well, play him 30. If he's not playing well, play him 20. I still think that there's enough depth on this roster that we don't have to play guys when they're struggling. But bottom line is he has to get significant minutes and let him show what he can do because I think there's a lot that he can do. The other thing is when you have an older player and, Bojan is getting older. He's 34, and so he can get injured. If he gets injured, and, when it happened last year when he got injured so badly and then he came back right away, but I thought, oh no, there goes, he'll have no trade value. It's just a fact of life that we've seen it with player after player that once they reach a certain age, they start to get injured. They get injured far easier, once they get older. So every day, in my opinion, his trade value is going down. So, he's got a great contract. He's worth more than his contract. Again, that's now, shout out to Troy Weaver, made a great trade. We traded and got him, for almost nothing, and then we signed him for just a bargain contract. And so he's owed $20 million this year, and then he's owed $19 million next year, but he's only guaranteed $2 million. So again, that makes him attractive for a trade person, and also, nobody's gonna be stuck with him if he did get injured. And the bottom line is, but also you have him for 2 more years. So you have this great player under a really great contract for 2 more years. So that seems to me that should be lots of value. But I will say this, the NBA is changing. There's significant changes. I followed the NBA my whole life and just there's always changes that go on part in all sports where there's different trends and stuff. But right now, look at what's happening. I talked before, Bradley Beal got traded for 2 contracts that the Suns really just wanted to unload, and they get this borderline all-star player for players they wanted to get rid of. You look at Harden, James Harden, one of the all-time greats, first ballot Hall of Famer, and of course he, things that he does off the court and things that he does to destruct the team makes it so he's not wanted, but also he's getting paid $30-some million, and he's only got 1 year left on his contract. Teams used to, if there was a guy like James Harden available 5 years ago, he would be traded right now. Same thing with Damian Lillard. He's 32, but he's got this, he's got like 4 years left. He's over $60 million left at the end of his contract, and this new CBA is going to really punish people. But so you get a player that's getting that paid at the end of his contract, he's going to be the same, just like Bogey. Bogey's going to be 36 at the end of his contract. I doubt we will re-sign him. So, if we just wanted to win, and there is a lot to be said. Everybody else talks, we need players to surround Cade to make Cade be able to play his best, and that's a true story. But at the same time, it's even more important that Asor gets to play. And so you don't want, it's hard to hold Bogey back. And I know I've seen not only, he had one of the best shooting years, in history last year. Shot 40% on threes, nearly 50% on twos, and 90% on free throws. And he is just remarkable. And he has got everything, his attitude, the way he approaches the game, his effort every night, the way he talks to his teammates to, be a mentor. He's phenomenal. But we just still, it's just hard to play, Asor. I don't see what position. I do want them to play Asor and Bogey together. I certainly hope we get to see lots of those minutes if Bogey's still with us. Another problem is, what do we trade for? So we're going to go get into that a little bit. So, obviously there's talk about trading for a first-round draft pick. Why doesn't somebody trade Harden for first-round draft pick? Why can't somebody come up with enough picks to get Lillard? I guess only Miami's even trying to get him. Why is that? And it's like I mentioned, the age, contract, new CBA, all of those things factor in. Another thing that is kind of complicated on the NBA scene right now is there's so many teams that have traded away their high picks, a whole bunch of picks. Cleveland traded a bunch of picks for Mitchell, and Minnesota traded a bunch of picks for Rudy Gobert, and there's all these guys that get traded for these. Kevin Garnett, got lots of assets had to be thrown to the Nets to get him. So a lot of the top teams don't have picks. The Lakers hardly have any picks. The Mavericks hardly have any picks. So that's another challenge in making a trade. So I'm just going to go. Anything can happen in the NBA. Injuries are a huge factor. You can add a player here, add a player there. I think there's a lot of luck. In this next season, I'm really optimistic. I'm always held to my ground that I'm saying 32 wins, which is a 15-game improvement, which is very rarely happens in the NBA. But I do believe it could be better than that. I'm not going to be shocked out of my mind if we won 38 or something. But there's so many good teams, and we're so young. But I think that, so again, this factors in why you trade Bogdanovic now is, I think we're going to win 32 games. Guess what? If we win 32 games, we could have the 6th draft pick. That's what about what Orlando got, and they got the 6th pick. And so if you get the 6th pick, your odds of jumping into a top 3 pick. And I'm not for tanking. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should tank to get the highest draft pick possible. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's another benefit. But the number one benefit, again, I'm going to keep saying it, is Asor, getting him minutes. So anyway, I do think that the next year, 24-25, we take another big jump. 2 years in a row, we jump 15 wins at least this next year. And then the next year we win, we jump another 10 wins or more. And that's hard to jump that many wins. And so now we're winning about 42. We're getting into the play-in or the playoffs. We're near the bottom. And then that's the end of Bogey's contract. And so do we want to re-sign a guy? We might. He might be willing to be a bench player, a role player at a low contract. You never know. That's why it is going to be really fascinating to see what happens with Burks and Monte Morris. Those are both they have just this year. Those guys have. And so we're going to get a chance to see how they fit in. So anyway, it's the next year, the 25-26 season, where I see us winning close to 50 games, 48, 50, and being a 5 seed or a 4 seed. I really believe that is on the plate for us. So in between, we're going to find out this year how things play out, and then we're going to find out by the end of this year, we should have a really good idea of who we need to target. And I think most Piston fans agree that we need a a four, a power forward that can shoot the three and can defend at a high level, which they're rare, but they're not impossible to find. There's some really good 6'8", 6'10" guys in this upcoming draft that play really hard and can play defense. So I'm not saying that we should get them, but like I said, 32 wins, which is a 15-game improvement, that could get us the 6th pick. Portland, they only won 33 wins. They got the number 3 pick. And so if we get 33 wins, we could end up, they jumped ahead a little bit in the lottery, but that is a real possibility. And I know Pistons fans, so many of you aren't into that. You want to win right now as many games as you can. But I'm going to talk in another episode about Troy Weaver and what he's done, and good and bad. But so anyway, like I said, you look at where Toronto is. They've hung on to those players. They've had, they had Fred VanVleet and Siakam and OG, and they've had this team. And then they got Scotty Barnes, had the big rookie year. Now they're going to build around him. Everything was looking positive, But now they're stuck. They lost Fred VanVleet for what? Nothing. He ended up signing as a free agent with Houston. Siakam, at the end of this year, he's gone. So again, there's Piston fans that want, let's trade for him. Would he be a great fit for what we need? Yeah, sure, he would plug in that 4th spot for us. But he has just this next year on his contract. So he's already said that he is going to try to get on another team, or open himself up and explore free agency and go to the highest bidder or see what his different options are. So that's, a big challenge, but they're stuck. What are they going to do now? At best, they're going to trade those guys on expiring deals. Like I said, if I'm the Pistons, I'm not going to want to trade a young player and a first-round pick for a guy that has 1 year left that's not going to sign with us. So anyway, that's where I'm at with Bojan. I think that now's the time. The sooner the better. I did mention I wouldn't care if we start the year with him and got off to a great start and everything fit together well, and we started out at or close to 500 for the first 22 games or so. But the key is who's going to trade us. Like I said, people aren't trading for these guys. People aren't, and I know some people are against getting the 26th pick. And before I would have thought that was terrible get for him. But the other part is it opens up cap space and for next year, and it opens up, again, number one, playing time for Asur, so I watched Rico Hines. They had another clip came out. It really only had one game with Cade and Ivy and Asur and Duran and Stu, and they played only one game. They looked pretty good. Cade was on fire again. Of course, they don't show all the misses, but Cade made most of the shots. It wasn't quite as cool. It was only one game that I got to see Cade. We got to see Cade play, but you can still go to Rico on YouTube. Go to Rico Hines, but it was fun seeing a Asur get down in a stance and Russell Westbrook trying to score on him, and he stayed in front of him, and he's got that length, and he's got that quickness, and he's got that wingspan. So when he can move his feet so quick, but he can back off guys, and then when they go to pull up, he can really contest and even block people. He blocked Grady Dick in the summer league on a pull-up jumper, and Grady Dick's really tall and long and holds the ball high. So anyway, that was fun getting a little glimpse of that. I wish they would have showed more of the games. I guess Sasser was in one of the games. I didn't pick that one out, but shout out to the Bun and Cardigan Show. It's a great Piston podcast. Very entertaining. James Edwards III, that writes for The Athletic and covers the Pistons, the beat writer. He is on it with a guy named Nick, and Nick is funny. Nick has some weird, crazy takes, but it all played into the entertainment value. So my podcast isn't entertaining. If you want Piston content, mine's a good podcast, I think, because I give you tons of Piston content. Where some people, I know there's another good podcast, they talk about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Who do you like, grape jelly or strawberry jelly? Do you like chips in your sandwich or not? You don't, I guess I'm missing the boat probably because I know people like some of that stuff. But Christian Wood, again, he is a mystery man. I that's why when Troy drafts the person, there is certainly a lot of credence to that. And he must have known that about Christian Wood. I was so upset when we didn't sign him and he went to Houston and they were going to sign him anyway. And then we traded that first round pick that Houston had that still hasn't conveyed yet, which limits their picks so that we could draft Isaiah Stewart. But we still can't trade a first round pick because we still have to wait till that conveys. But anyway, he was fabulous at that end of that year with the Pistons. And so he's one of 4 players that are 6'10" or taller with 100 threes in each of the last 2 seasons that shot 38%. I mean, or that's just even made him at any percent. But he shoots 38% on threes. He could block shots. He's not a strong rebounder. He's not a great defender, but there's other things that must be wrong. But anyway, the Lakers got him. 2 years, $5.7 million, bargain basement contract. He shot 38% last year, averaged 16.6 points a game, 52% shooting, and 7 rebounds and 1.1 blocks. So it's like he's not doing nothing out there. I know defense is important, but I think with him it's more even about where his head's at, I think, as part of it. So I don't know. But anyway, good luck to Christian Wood. Good luck to the Lakers. But anyway, my final shout out is to our Detroit Lions. And what a great win was last night. And I tell you about sports, and it's tough in the NFL because they only have 17 games. The NBA, you have 82 games. But there's a lot of games that can be decided by, the bounce of a ball. Like, the Lions picked off that pass that went right through the receiver's hands and right into a Lion's hands, and he goes all the way for a touchdown. Brian Branch, that we got drafted from Alabama, was a great pick at 45, and all our rookies did. Man, our rookies balled out last night. Jahmyr Gibbs ran the ball 7 times for 42 yards, which is awesome. And then he caught 2 passes for 18 yards. So he looks dynamic. I would say, and David Montgomery had a really strong game and played well, and he averaged like 3.5 yards a carry. But I still would like to see more Gibbs. He is electric, so hopefully we get to see that. But also, some people question, we got Sam Laporta with the 39th pick, and with 34th pick. But he caught 5 passes for 39 yards in his first NFL game, so that was really cool. So anyway, whatever you can do, be the reason that someone feels wanted or loved or cared for or listened to. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe. Click the button and subscribe. Nobody's going to come back and haunt you. They don't get your information or anything like that. And leave the thumbs up. If you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. And let's go Pistons.